So let's go ahead. What do you say we get rocking and rolling, and kind of just walking folks through the very last webinar that we did, which was somewhat similar, right? But it was really just very focused more, would you say, on the sales side of things?
Yeah, from maybe if I'm looking at it front of the house, back of the house, it's more front of the house, like selling, sales manager, general manager, looking at like, how's it all working? Where's my money being best spent? So things of that nature versus where today will be kind of the back of the house, looking at service and customer experience involving coming in and going out, that sort of thing.
And I think, it's funny because I think we didn't really mention on the last one, like user experience, right? Like it's going to apply to every aspect of the dealership. But I think today we're going to get to the nitty gritty that we didn't last month on like how really that's going to make a huge difference on the user experience side, right?
Sure. And just so everybody knows, like when we're in a dealership, and I say we, DS1 Consulting, we're out in your dealership, we teach two principles, basic, very standard 101. For the guys, the front-facing people, my job is to help them make it easy to own, make it easy to schedule, make it easy for the customer's experience, make the best customer experience possible. Now, that being said, our jobs, and one of the reasons I love Dealer Lead Pro so much is that, if we're asking that ask of our frontline guys, make it easy to own, make it easy to schedule. Now, our job is to make it easy for them to do that. And so that's what I love about Dealer Lead Pro. It makes it easy for the frontline guys to do their job, and it creates seamless through innovation. Some of it is, automation. It makes it really easy for our staff to do what they're doing, and that's making it easy for the customer experience. So
yeah, 100%. And I'm actually really looking forward to getting into the nitty gritty of it. I know a lot of people have questions like on the exacts on how it works. You got to keep me in check as far as the time goes there, because sure. I can geek out on this stuff. So definitely hold me accountable there. I want to obviously be respectful of everyone's time. And with that being said, let me allow you to just kind of take the floor for a little bit and introduce yourself. You and I have been working together for quite a while, on and off webinars, like actually on the floor together. It's been, a great experience. Tell us a little bit about you.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, and don't forget to add brainstorming on Pier 15 in Fort Lauderdale too. That's very important. When you're drawing up stuff on bar napkins, that stuff translates to real life solutions. So my name's Derek Sanders with DS1 Consulting, Powersports expert. That's a title that I like the way that looks, by the way, Joe. Been in this industry for many years, started at a Harley dealership owned by Ride Now back in 2004. Went through the ranks relatively quickly after having a great mentor, Dale Rhodes, with Ride Now. And then I was very fortunate about getting introduced to Ed Lemko's 20 groups through my general manager experience. After that, I worked with a customer relations management software company called VSEPT, where I started a consulting division of that company and actually got out into dealerships training best practices with CRM, and then used my years of experience prior to motorcycle in corporate training with Brinker International and Restaurants Unlimited to create a sales training program for sales guys, finance, parts, accessories, service writers, then next level kind of mentoring and coaching general managers, sales managers, service managers. So I've been in and out of 230 something dealerships in the last 13 years. I know what culture looks like. I know what the best tools in the industry are. And I'm able to put it all together without being a complete, rain on your parade. My biggest thing is it's a win, got to be a win-win. If the customer experience is better, I can get in and out and deal with your team in a way that makes them grow and not makes them defensive, then that's a success for me. And after having met Joe, I like what he's doing with technology, and I'm a huge proponent of giving our team the right tools to create that experience. It's so very important now more than ever. So thanks for the intro, Joe.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. 100%. And before you tell us a little bit about this, is just a few of the 200 plus, I believe, dealerships that Derek has worked with. But to speak to his point about collaboration, it's really important because that's actually the way he and I met. We met on the floor, and Derek has an uncanny capacity for being able to go into a dealership, which is by no, stretch of the imagination, simplistic when it comes to the nuances and the intricacies of the different personalities that come together on the one roof. Am I right?
Yeah.
It gets insane. So you see all sorts of egos and everything, and he's really good at navigating that aspect of understanding where each person is at, coming from the perspective of the owner or owners, and having that interest in mind for the dealership, while then being boots on the ground. You'll literally show up with cowboy boots at your place, no lie. I get that all the time when I go like, this dude just showed up with cowboy boots. Like, and he'll be literally, there'll be literally boots on the ground. He'll be boots on the ground, and he'll collaborate with people in a way that it's non-threatening to them. Because that's one of the things I see all the time, right? That you probably experience in probably quite a few of these dealerships that you went into to help them out.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about just quickly, lastly, with regards to some of the dealerships you've helped.
Yeah. So just these few, some of them are single standing, some of them are empires. You get, like you said, you get all kinds of shapes, colors, California, Minnesota, Texas, New Jersey, I've been to the Keys, to Hawaii. I mean, it's interesting because I hear all the time, oh, it's different here, it's different there. It's like, yeah, it's not different anywhere except for South Florida, just so everybody knows. I mean, Northern Cuba, Southern Florida is different, and everybody else is pretty much the same. So you work in some big dealerships that do some very heavy lifting and some big horsepower. Then you work with, dealerships like our buddies up in Calgary. They're just a ragtag group of Canadians trying to sell sleds in the snow. And it's interesting and it's humbling because, people pay attention, they get results. And for me, that's what it's all about, man. I really enjoy working with people to get it. They want to do it, they get it done, and then they get to sit back and celebrate their successes. So all these guys are awesome too. I love every one of these dealerships.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And somebody like, like Basecamp Motorsports, whom, I had the pleasure of visiting just last week. It's really unbelievable with the space, and the amount of stuff that they do keep on the floor, what they're able to, I mean, they're really, they have the guts, they have the desire. And then with, collaborations through, folks like you, Derek, and my team, we've been able to, I feel, really make them efficient and really just be able to, turn the wheels way faster.
Well, let's let that lead us right into how fast we're going to make it, logging customers, etc.
Yep. So with that, I'm just going to very quickly introduce myself. If you don't know me, I've had 15 plus years of experience in digital marketing. I have a personal passion for the outdoor industry, particularly power sports and motorcycles. And my thing is digital marketing and communication. So having started about 20 years ago or so, being involved in the dealership world, but in automotive, later on down the road, I realized, oh man, power sports is like the redheaded, power sports, marine and RV are the redheaded stepchild to the automotive industry. And I really have a deep desire to change that. So there, comes about Beyond Creative and our own CRM, which is Dealer Lead Pro. What do? We essentially focus on lead generation. So getting you leads from the internet, which, you're likely very familiar already with vast majority of these tactics, which is, Google ads, Microsoft ads, Bing ads, I mean, you name it, right? Search engine optimization. And then of course, social media. But then there's like a twilight zone, which kind of is a topic that goes along with talking about CRMs, which is that lead management, right? There's a twilight zone between the time you get the lead and them actually becoming a customer. And unfortunately, a lot of OEMs have been kind of conking dealerships over the head, like, you guys suck at follow-up. And they're probably not wrong. The problem is they just never they never give you the solution, right? So that's the aspect that we do out, we essentially, a dealer can outsource to us, which is managing that BDC, that lead management component of things that we do. We do appointment setting, lead nurturing and outbound efforts, and, CSI improvements. So, you'll see dramatic increases by working with my team within just really a few months of working together. And I think, Derek could probably attest to that from what he's seen on like mutual clients of ours that we have together.
Indeed, sir. Indeed.
Yeah. Here are some of the awesome dealerships that we work with. They're like family to us. These are, just to name a few. So with that, I'm going to try to keep it short. Derek, you want to recap a little bit on some of the stuff that we talked about for the last one, so we can kind of just transition into the topic of CRM for service? Yeah.
Good idea. So yeah, first of all, we touched briefly on our sales person interaction with the CRM, and it's no mystery to anybody by now. Everybody's using CRM. It's not a matter of, do we need to do it? It's like, what is the most painless CRM we can do to where our sales guys are logging the information, we're getting the benefit of utilizing all that information, and the customer benefits because we're staying in touch with them better than we ever have. So to me, it boils down specifically in our sales department is, can I make this easy? Is it going to be easy to where my sales guys are going to do it? Because let's face it, the first thing that gets thrown out the window when we're busy is, I didn't have time for the CRM. I didn't have time to log. So what I love about this is that it takes 60 seconds or less. You can log a customer. You can tag a vehicle, a motorcycle, boat, RV, whatever. And then it sets up an automatic campaign. So in all honesty, this is where our sales guys suck. First of all, they're not getting trained when and where or what to send a customer. So the automation in this Dealer Lead Pro is what I love, aside from the fact it's super simple to do. And when we get this automation going, it's crazy because people respond, and everybody knows it takes X amount of touches before a customer is a customer. And if I have that initial touch where it's a logged entry in, and then the system does everything else specified by dealer, not by salesperson, and then that just gives me the reassurance as a sales manager, as a general sales manager, GM, that my customers are getting treated right. The experience is exactly how I want. And then it's off to the races after that. So
yeah,
from a sales standpoint, make it easy for them to do it. And then with the automation this has, it's like, no brainer.
Yeah, I think that's that. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the next part with the sales manager, this is just basic stuff that I need to know as a sales manager. How many appointments do we have for the week versus how many are kept? Because that boils down to, if I have a goal of 50 units in a month, then it all comes down to how many appointments do we have versus how many are kept, and what does my pipeline look? Are the sales guys entering this? And if I can look at that quickly and easily, which the dashboard allows me to do, then I have the reassurance as a sales manager that I can easily check in on my sales department and see, hey, are we on pace? Are we on point? Do I need to have meetings with my sales manager or my team and figure out where we're missing the boat? So the booked appointments, this is something that's, really, really simple. And if I can do that quickly and easily as a sales manager or general sales manager, GM, then it makes my day that much better.
And would you agree, Derek, that like two important metrics with regards to booked appointment? Because I think some dealerships, they'll be like, yeah, okay, how many appointments did I book total over like my total leads or whatever? But I don't think that they're subsequently looking at the inverse side of that, which is the no-show. Right. And, if you start having a high no-show, if you're like in the 50s, then you're like, whoa, something's happening, whether either people are getting too boxed into an appointment, or one of the things that we talked about from last time was some of that follow-up, right? Which we're going to see today, by the way, within the context of the service department, right? Which is that follow-up. Yeah.
And almost bigger importance with the service because you're dealing with so much more volume.
Yes.
Where, you're selling 300 to 600 ROs in a month versus 50 bikes. So it's even more important to keep those people engaged and make sure we don't have a huge decline in the showed appointments. So I think finally, though, one of the biggest things for our dealers to realize, last week we talked about, was the ability to look at the sources, right? So the number one thing I get from every dealer is that, oh yeah, my guys, good information in, good information out, which we don't ever get. So we get bad crap in, bad crap out. Now they can't look at their deal source and say, well, where's that 10 grand we spent with Google My Business or Google Ads? Where does that relate to sales? Where does that Craigslist $5 per post relate in return on investment? how does Cycle Trader, those guys call me every week to ask for more money. What does that look like to the bottom line? And, God bless them, because I get it. It's not an easy job, but the reality is when a customer calls in, and this is a lot more than it ever has, wouldn't you agree? We have more people calling in than ever. The sales guys don't do a good job of saying, hey, where did you hear about us? But with Dealer Lead Pro, now you have it automatically input, and it's, stored information. So when I go to my source report, deal source report, now I can see exactly in a pie graph or any kind of graph that it shows me who is making me the most money as far as my sources are concerned. So I love that. And I think most general managers want to see something like this.
And one of the things too, Derek, that I want to quickly point out, and I think we're probably kind of, maybe just getting a little bit ahead of ourselves and like announcing almost like a part 3 to this CRM for your dealership. Because, yeah, wait, look at the calendar. The reason why I'm saying that is because I feel like we can't really cover sales, marketing, and service all in one, right? So we did sales at the beginning. Yeah, we're like, we're doing service now. But we are going to do another one that is going to be more about the intricacies of marketing. And the reason why I bring that up is because, to Derek's point, the reporting is super important. There's a feature in Dealer Lead Pro, which, by the way, is not just for the purpose of knowing where your ad expenditure is going, but something that dealerships and a lot of businesses in general haven't been able to really fully track is like phone numbers. So in other words, you may be able to drive something to a landing page or to your website, or even Cycle Trader, like, they're like, yeah, we're sending you so many leads, but a lot of them aren't clicking on your website. They're just calling. Okay, we have a way to check that out. And we have dedicated phone numbers. We can even track phone calls being generated from a billboard if you wanted to, or any kind of print. And that's because in Dealer Lead Pro, we'll have phone numbers that could be dedicated to users, phone numbers that can be dedicated for departments, phone numbers that can be dedicated for campaigns, whatever the case may be. And all of that is going to be able to really help you understand and get an overall picture of your efforts. What do you think is another good takeaway that we could share with them before we start jumping into the nitty-gritty of it with regards to the service department?
So takeaways from our last one is really just the ease of use, because so many of these CRMs are click, 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 click to get any kind of information. You have to look at all kinds of different pages before you get down to what is the bottom, what is the end result I'm looking for. And so I think with Dealer Lead Pro, it makes it simple. Again, I just have to go back and stress that if it isn't easy, then we're not using it. And that's not only your sales guys, that's sales managers, that's everybody in the dealership. If we don't make it easy for them to use, it just doesn't get done. So with that being said, when you first 100%. Showed me the service side of this, I was like, holy crap, this is a game changer. Because the experience I had just had with my Jeep Wrangler was never talking to a single person. It was click here, yes or no, R to reschedule. The whole thing happened. These are the things we found. Would you like to proceed? Boom, boom. And I never even talked to a person until, except for when I dropped it off and handed over the keys and I picked it up. And when I saw what Dealer Lead Pro, I was like, dude, this is a game changer for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's probably not only bringing us the 20 years, not only bridging that gap between us and automotive and bridging that 15 to 20 year gap, but I think it's putting us a little bit ahead, because those of us that have experiences with, our local auto dealerships, we know they're good, but I think what we're about to show them today is going to be like, just, like you mentioned, game changer.
Cool. Let's do it.
Yep. Awesome. So let's jump in to the solutions, right? Obviously, some of the pain points, the sticking points are going to be very similar to what we mentioned earlier on with regards to the sales component of things. But one of the things that Dealer Lead Pro is able to do, and this is something that, regardless of whether you're doing it through Dealer Lead Pro or not, the concept, when implemented, is just going to be epic as far as what you're able to turn over regarding when it comes to repair orders. And like we mentioned earlier on, user experience. So I don't know how you want to do this, Derek, if you want me to just kind of jump in to show some of the actual live, scheduling widgets and stuff like that, and the automation, and maybe we can just come back to this and then talk about each one in general. What do you think?
Yeah, make it look like there's a customer who wants to come in for service, and then just walk us through like it's another day in the dealership.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's look at, I don't know if you could still see my screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So let's look at, for instance, all right, if somebody set up, let's look at a couple of components that would be critical to look at if you're the service department. Here's a scheduler widget that's, built out just for the purpose of, demos. And this widget here can be used in multiple fashions. Either this widget or internally on the back end of DealerLink Pro, somebody in the service department can either schedule an appointment on behalf of the customer, or the customer can essentially schedule it themselves. Now, the cool thing is that this widget that you're looking at here, it's not only standalone like this, but we can put it and like actually work it in to some website. So if I could essentially any pages on your website, but we can also do it to landing pages. So I'll look at like a live example of one of our good dealerships. And if you go to, let's see, schedule service, I believe it's this one, we should have a live calendar widget. Yep, here we go. Just let it load. The X1's loading a little slow. And then here's what a live example looks like, right? So it could just be embedded. It looks seamlessly like part of the dealership's brand and website. But this is like the customer front facing. Now, this is just the beginning of one tool, right? Because this is, and I don't know if you could speak to this a little bit, Derek, but this is like having people sign up on their own. I feel like, how there's always going to be that guy that's just never going to answer you via text, but he'll always answer via phone. We know that we're going to have that in the service department, just like we do in sales, meaning there's always going to be the guy that's going to want to pick up the phone, call you and say, hey, dude, give me my 10 o'clock appointment on the 30th, whatever. That's not really going to change. But wouldn't you agree that there are tons of people that they almost even not rather have to pick up the phone or call or anything like that? And you know how like a lot of our website providers for the industry, they'll just say like a request, and all it is just a request, but they still have to get a call from somebody. Wouldn't you agree that a ton more people, if they can see real time what's available for the service department, that they would just be like, okay, I'm just going to book, and they don't have to worry about getting a call back, right? Yeah.
Yep. It's just like your water delivery or your cable guy. I mean, everything now has gone away from answering the phones. If you try to call Chase Bank, you get Bangkok, Thailand, or somewhere in Peru. So they discourage you from actually answering the phones, which we're not doing, but we're giving a solution that for those people that don't want to wait online or have to talk to somebody, this makes it real simple. You just click. And then what I love about it is if they change their mind, it makes it even that easier just to go with the flow.
Yeah, 100%. So let me just show up here. Let me just open up a different tab for me. And so I can show you guys. I'm not sure what you're seeing right now, but that's okay. Okay. Okay, so right now you're looking at the calendar widget, right?
Yes.
Okay, so so that first aspect of it is that first bullet point that we were talking about, which I don't think you can see anymore on the screen, which is essentially the service scheduler and the dashboard. Meaning, okay, on the customer is going to be able to schedule on their own. You're going to have less phone traffic. You're going to make it much convenient. You're going to already in and of itself is going to improve your user experience. Number 2 that we had on the slide, and I don't know if you remember, was the automated show up effort campaigns. So I was hoping maybe as you kind of intro that a little bit, the way that you perceive it, Derek, I can kind of show them and walk them through how that works.
Okay, so customer says, I need to schedule service. He goes to the website, goes, oh, wow, look at this. I can schedule my own services. Let's go here and I'll click my preferred time and date. And then I'll enter my information. And I want to say I have a motorcycle, SUV, whatever, side by side I'm bringing in, and then boom.
Yeah, so check this out. This is where it gets really cool. Sorry, I'm flipping through so many tabs. So this is what the service department could see from their end, right? This is going to be a customized pipeline. And you'll see here that I just scheduled for Thursday, 23rd at 3 p.m., right? And what it did was, for Dealer Lead Pro, when you have onboarding, you have it set up so if a lead comes in through your website, like separate of our actual booking widgets, or if it comes in through Cycle Trader or whatever, it's always going to be automatically parsed in to your to your CRM, and it's going to be also placed into an opportunities pipeline. That opportunity could be for sales, it could be for service. So as you could see here, we're in the pipeline. When I entered my appointment, it just created an opportunity for me. Yeah, my internet's not cooperating. Sorry, guys. There we go. It just created an opportunity for me, stating my name. Oops. Sorry, my computer's having an existential crisis today. Yeah, so essentially it created an opportunity that included my name, it included the vehicle, and it included the time of the appointment. Now, what's really important, and that I kind of failed at showing you guys right away, what I'm going to share with you is what we call the follow-up show-up efforts, right? So I'm going to actually share my iPhone screen. Don't make fun of me for what you're going to see, okay? You're going to see some pictures and stuff on there, so just brace yourself. Okay, can you see the screen now?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of the notifications, and you're going to see here now that check this out. So it says, Joe, thanks for scheduling a time to come to our service department. We're looking forward to seeing you on Thursday, September 23rd at 3 p.m. Now that was the one before, just ignore it, it's me testing, but you see on there, I just got a confirmation text to me, confirming my appointment. Likewise, I am going to, if I look at my notifications here, I should have some, yep, right here. I have one on my email as well. And I get a link to reschedule if I need to. Later on within the progression of the sequence, one of the really cool things that you guys will notice is that there'll actually be links for your Google, for like your dealership's Google My Business. And I'm not going to ruin it, but there'll be there's some really cool links that we can include as well.
Yeah, this was very impressive. When I saw this, I was like, wait a minute, game changer.
Yeah, that component of it is just bananas. So let me see, because I had these timed. So I think, let's see. Yeah, there may be some more coming through as a reminder. So because the sequence, essentially, let me just kind of share the sequence is what I'll do. So the sequence, when you look at it, or a workflow as we call it, it will create an opportunity, right? Like once it's triggered by the appointment, and I don't want to get too techy because I get my hand slapped for that. But essentially, once an appointment is created, it'll create an opportunity in your pipeline. It will send an appointment confirmation and an appointment email. An appointment confirmation email and text. And then what it can do is, here it only says a minute apart. That's probably because for the purpose of us demoing it. But there'll be like a one-day reminder for the day before via text, via email. And there'll be a day of email reminder in the morning. And then there'll be a 1 hour prior, which in some a little bit more hectic and chaotic areas, such as like, if your dealership is in LA, we'll put 2 hours prior. But that's what we really call not just appointment confirmation, right? Like appointment confirmation isn't enough. These are also show up efforts, and these are all based on your appointment time. So they're always gonna be right on point as far as what the message is, and making sure that you show up to the appointment.
Right, and this is because you're demoing this. This has like every single possible reminder you can have. But keep in mind, like Kim Harrison, you won't get a billion text messages, or you won't be sending a billion text messages to your customers. It's totally customizable, and you can say one and done, or you can say, 1 day, 1 hour, whatever. It's all up to you. We'll help you, or they'll help you design that to your liking when you set up the system, if you did.
I think that's a super important point, Derek. And it's that, yeah, it's definitely customizable. We start kind of like a standard, but your dealership's going to be very different from either even the guys like two doors down, even if you sell, the same thing. Every dealership's very unique like that, and their following is very unique. So we'll kind of start out by what we've seen is a good medium, and then we can get more aggressive or get less aggressive, and we'll determine that according to pretty much during the onboarding, process. So let's talk about, and I want to get your thoughts on this, Derek, the auto notifications to customers. One's like, okay, so they've already booked, they've come in and they've brought their vehicle, right? But then what happens? Because you had spoken to this at the beginning of the webinar, right? Which was like that they were staying in touch with you during the whole process. Can you speak to that a little bit more as I kind of just gear up and share my screen here and go through the process?
Yeah, so in the service department, everybody knows you have a check-in procedure, then you go to diag, where your technician is basically diagnosing any other problems besides the one that you had mentioned when you dropped it off. And then they give you kind of a plan of attack. This is what we'd like to do based on the information our service technician's given us. And then the customer has to do what we get, authorization. So our service writer has to call, and sometimes that takes a day, 2 days, 3 days to get the authorization. And then in today's environment, it's like, okay, well, now we got to wait for parts because we can't stock 1 zillion things on the planet to cover every single possible diagnosis. So now we have a waiting for parts, and then we get the parts in and we get the thing on the lift and it started me working on it. And then we have to call for pickup because at that point the machine's ready, and now it takes my service writers 2-3 more times to call and or email. And most people aren't integrated yet with texting, although I know Lightspeed Evo has finally got texting. However, probably 80% of the customers for Lightspeed aren't even using it in service. So I think that's where this kind of puts it all together. So it's seamless, it texts, it makes things stupid simple.
Yeah, and I'm not going to ruin the surprise too much here. We could talk about some of the integrations that we've got planned, toward the just the latter end of our session. But here's something that's so intuitive that I want to share. And I don't know, Derek, that you've seen it from this end. I know you've seen it on like the receiving end where you actually get to see the messages being delivered. But this is a really good example of the automation. Let's say, for instance, obviously this is a demo one. This is, my opportunity that was created here just by me, mere scheduling my service appointment. And all that the service writer has to do is essentially come in here and say, okay, the vehicle for Joe, right, is in the shop. And he's going to take and drag this and drop it in vehicle and shop. And I'm going to share my screen here for my iPhone so you could see this real time. Right? Let's see. I already felt the notification come through. So there we go.
So wait, this is like Domino's Pizza app where it shows your pizza's getting built.
Yeah. So, we're going to come up with the graphics for it. Yeah, exactly. Well, we're going to come up for the graphics for it, but check this out. Hi, Joe, your 2018 Road Glide Special is now being checked by one of our awesome technicians. We'll keep you posted as soon as we have more updates. Now, keep in mind this verbiage we can change and alter and to your liking. And to Derek's point, we want to do like a Papa Tracker, or Domino's Pizza, where it kind of shows you where your pizza is along the way. But now that I've got I'm sharing my my cell phone screen, likewise, I could take that same card just like I showed you in a second ago, and instead of dropping it into vehicle in shop, I can say, you know what, their vehicle's ready for delivery, and I could drop it in that ready for delivery stage of the process, and then boom, there it is. Dear Joe, your 2018 Road Glide Special is ready. We'll deliver it to a location of your choice. To pay your invoice, please visit. And then there's a link. Right now, this link, which is what's really so powerful about what we're doing here, is you can literally send them a Stripe link, and they can take care of the invoice directly on Stripe, and it's through a third party, so it's securely done, and you've got a Stripe account, and it settles to your your dealership's bank at the end of the day, or whenever it is that Stripe settles. If instead of, let's just say, vehicle ready for delivery, it's ready for pickup, it may be a different verbiage. That's okay. You can have it because, there are some dealerships out there that offer, a service for delivery. But if you're not one of those and that's offering pickup, the verbiage is different. So it says, "Dear Joe, your 2018 Rogue Light Special is ready to be picked up. If you'd like to avoid waiting in line, please feel free to pay your invoice here." And again, it gives them a payment link where they can go ahead and take care of the total. If you didn't want to include the payment link, that's totally cool. That's something that you don't have to do. But it's just something really to further get ahead of the game. What are your thoughts,
Awesome.
Derek?
I love it. Makes it easy to own, and that's what we're trying to do, especially after this whole 2020 touchless, seamless. This makes it super simple for our customers to get things taken care of. And, even like some of my dealers are doing that delivery. So put it on the delivery, let me pay you and ship it back to my house and let me burn up the trails this weekend. No hassle.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know if you guys can see. Let me see if you can see my screen. Let me go back to, there we go, to Google Docs. So, so that is the aspect of the component of the first 3 bullet points, right? Which were, the service scheduler in the widget and the dashboard. That's huge. But then what happens after that, right? Now, notice we're improving their user experience from the get-go because we're not necessarily forcing them or backing them into a particular way of doing business. It's not just, oh, okay, call me. Or it's not just call me or just enter a lead on my website and that's it. And then you have to get a call back. Mm-hmm. So we're allowing them to either call, we're allowing them to get a call back, we're allowing them to schedule it directly on their own. Vast majority of dealers with Dealer Lead Pro, have an online chat. Like, can you see my screen now? Can you see the Jackrabbit one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like here, for instance, this is another way that they can enter it. This is a text widget, like a text me widget. So they could come in here, they could put in their info, blah, blah, blah. And then that'll show up on the side of, of Dealer Lead Pro in the conversations panel, essentially. Right. And then somebody could do it that way too, right? So we're really giving them choices, which I think is what it boils down to in today's day and age. And then of course, once we've given them that better experience, like, okay, well, let's really have them show up because that's going to be critical. That's like, it's mission critical. And then we've got the auto notifications to notify our customers of what's going on. One thing that is really important that I want to mention is that Dealer Lead Pro has integration to Google and to Outlook calendars. So meaning if you're running like the Office 365, you're running anything Microsoft, and those are kind of like your native calendars, or if you're doing them through Google, that's really the vast majority of dealerships have nowadays, one of those two. It'll be synced not only to like what I kind of call the communal calendar, because you could have like a service and a sales department and a parts department calendar, but you could also have it individually to each of the technicians, or I should say to each of the service writers, and to each of the sales guys. So that's, I think, a really important aspect.
I have heard rumors, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard rumors that Dealer Lead Pro was in talks with Evo for a possible integration sometime in the near future. Is that something you can talk to, or just nod your head and?
Yeah, I'm just going to say,
Okay.
Yeah, no, definitely. We are in talks with them and about making things. How should I say, as simple as like, if let's say in that stage of the pipeline, where are we? Getting too complicated here in opportunities. So let's say in this last stage of the pipeline, I just put Joe in for ready for pickup. We want to make it so like essentially through CDK, when somebody has transacted, like if you close the RO on the side of CDK, it will automatically put that customer inside of that pipeline. So meaning that you just get to close it out in one place and the automation takes care of itself. Likewise, another cool thing about it that, we won't mention today because it also falls a little bit more squarely on the side of marketing and stuff, but it's just as important for service, by the way, is that what that sequence will also trigger is a review request to the customer. So we have the capacity of doing it real time as soon as you close the RO, Or we can also put a little bit of a cool down period. So maybe 12 hours or 24 hours. It's completely up to, the dealership directly.
Yeah. And let's save that for the marketing piece, because that's something we could go all day on, really dig into. But it's an awesome feature.
100%. And I wanted to ask you if you could speak a little bit as to, call monitoring and for the service manager. And then second to that, talking a little bit about how to improve CSI scores.
Yeah, of course. And actually, why don't we use the dealership up in Canada, Basecamp? I was working with them for the last year, and I got a call from the owner saying, my guys in service are horrible on the phones. My buddies are telling me they don't even know how to use the Canadian English language. It's just a little bit different than what we use down here. But so what we did was quickly, I called you. You had call monitoring. We started taking a weekly one-on-one with our team and letting them hear what the conversation looked like, and it was kind of ugly. The first time we listened, they were like, oh, like, yeah, cringy. So then we called a couple of other dealerships and just did some secret shopping to see, how we did versus them. And what we found was that we sucked just as bad or worse than our competition. So it really gave us an easy job to say, look, we're going to do a lot better job answering the phones. Instead of no problem, we're going to say my pleasure. I would love to help you out with that, whatever. Just a little verbiage difference, but also using the widgets and getting that automation involved to kind of just open things up where it was quicker and easier for everybody than it was prior. So having the ability, not only in service, but in sales, we also use this for sales department to just monitor, and parts accessories also. So I love the fact that the phone calls are all captured. And once you see how easy it is just to go and click on a phone call and it starts playing, you don't have to go to another website. I know a lot of you are using.
Do I have enough time to? Do I have enough time to show like just a little bit the call reporting side?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so let's do this. I'm just gonna quickly hop in here and go. Watch how easy it is within the same dashboard. I can go to not marketing, reporting, and we've got ample things to report on here. Right on the marketing side, you've got Google Ads, Facebook Ads. All of those numbers will show up natively. Attribution report, which is more of an overall. We could talk about that on part 3. But here's what you really want, either agent reporting or call reporting. And what's really cool about call reporting is it'll give you an overview of all the outgoing and the incoming for the dealership. And you'll be able to track whether you're doing a dynamic phone number pool, which is more marketing related off of your website. But like in here, you can break down and say, well, what am I getting for, let's say service calls, for instance. And then, you'll click on here and you can select your date range for the service calls. And you can say, let's see here, let's go. Because I think currently at this time, we're not fielding their service calls. So I'm just going to put in this year. Let's see, I think they're going direct for the service department now. So obviously this has to be set up, and it's set up according to your liking. So as you could see here, okay, during the time we were fielding them, we get these unbelievable stats. Okay, how many were answered? How many were missed? What was the average call duration? How many of those people were first-time callers? Then you can very easily just here click the down arrow, and you'll get, if call recording is turned on, which in this case it is, you'll get the call recording right here. You can play it. You can change the volume. You can change the speed. You can download it. You can mark it as a qualified or non-qualified call. And then you see the call flow of it. So in other words, which numbers it was routed to, et cetera. So really, really cool, powerful tool. I won't go too much more because then I'll get my ears pulled.
And yeah. I've used this firsthand working with the dealership, and I loved it. And so did the managers that I got involved with, the service manager, sales manager, parts manager. They were totally blown away at how easy it was to get to that screen and then start listening to calls. So I think the last bullet point there, and this is one, particularly with this dealership, again, up in Canada, they're a BRP only store. They pose to make incredible amount more money if they get to a platinum level. So our initiative starting in May of this year was, let's get to platinum. So they've been silver dealer forever. So I talked to Joe, said, Joe, can your team call outbound and help us get more people to respond to these CSIs? And what we found was an overwhelming response by customers when we use your BDC in, you know, just alongside the CRM platform, which we're able to reach out to customers. We went from silver historically to within striking distance. I mean, we barely missed platinum by this much for the end of the year. And then now we're poised to make the changes we need to get to platinum for the first time in dealership history. So it's very exciting. And the CRM makes it super simple, being able to not only manage our reputation, but also manage these phone calls and listen and ensure that we're getting the customer service level up. And then also using the BDC to follow up behind us and just reach out and touch people and get them more inclined to answer these surveys and give us a good review. So it's been pretty impressive.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of what we went through, which is those sequences and those follow-ups, those are things, by the way, that are going to be the very same things that are going to help you improve your CSI score. So essentially using those techniques. And I think it's important to say that with the example that you're giving, as far as this, you know, our friends up in the Northwest of the continent, they're like a really great case study as far as like probably the ideal, you know, dealership that you'd like to see and work with, because they're like, yeah, okay, let's do that. Awesome, Derek. And so they're listening. And then it's just like, wow, things are happening, right? And it just, it's amazing. And it's similar for us because we've come
Ed's got a question here. I'll read it out loud. So before we get any further out after this, how are you getting the call tracking from dealerships? VoIP ? So he wants to know how we're recording that, I believe.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the way it works is, you know, we use an engine in the back that's called Twilio. And Twilio is essentially the internet of everything telephone. So that platform allows us to, even if we don't have like an actual end where there's a receiver or anything like that on the end of DealerD Pro, that doesn't matter. All we do is we have a dedicated phone number that we have for specific things. And that phone number just forwards directly to wherever you want it to forward to. So the multitude of options are endless, meaning you can have it go to your main line. You can have it go to your receptionist. You can have it go directly to the service department. You can have it go directly to one of the service writers. So the, you know, the possibilities are endless. But the way to answer your call, the way that we can see where it's coming from, its length, its recording, is essentially through a pass-through, right? There's a phone number that's set for that particular function. It'll record all of the data. And it's doing that as it's passing it directly to your team to handle. In cases like, you know, dealerships that we help, such as Basecamp, and our team does more than the marketing, but also the BDC, then, you know, that directing is directed toward our agents, right? But with them, as an example, you probably saw where I was like pulling up the date range, and it's just like, okay, service calls were turned off at such date, but they were on earlier. It's because, you know, Derek called me at one point and said, we've got a concern about something here. I want to, you know, get a pool of recordings of a week or 2 weeks. And everything to them seemed the same. They're still getting the calls directly through their service department, but on the back end, we're listening to them and we're being able to. Does that answer your question, Ed? I hope it does. What do you think, Derek?
Yeah, I just sent that in a chat, so we'll see how he responds. And then let's get back to the CSI. Invaluable, man. I mean, I can't tell you, in sales, service, the whole shooting match, as we say in Texas.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think, you know, I think it's important to note real quick as I kind of wrap it up, because we're coming close to the hour, is that, so Basecamp's like a really good case study, you know, for both of us, because for us, we also do their marketing, we do their lead management, and we're also providing them with their CRM. So they're taking up a host of what we know are solutions that, you know, are going to make them thrive. But it's important to note that, you know, if you're looking at this and you're going, well, I really just need this one area that's kind of underperforming, blah, 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 and I just want to attack this for CSI improvement or you know, the user experience when it comes to service or this aspect of service, that's okay too. You know, in that case, I think you could take a smaller piece of the pie, but it's the concept that we're talking about here that I think it's more important to kind of take home. Wouldn't you agree, Derek?
Yeah, I totally 100% agree. This is like all the solutions are there. It's up to you. Some of you have been doing business with, other marketing people. Maybe you have your own in-house person. You don't want to change that up, but there are all kinds of different solutions here. You can pick them onesie twosie. You can go like Basecamp and, break off the whole piece of pie. But at the end of the day, your customer experience is where I think you guys have nailed it. And that's why I've chosen to help you promote the CRM, because I just had a great experience with it. And if you make the customer experience the best number one thing, then I think everything else you do falls into place. So give your guys the tools to make it easy to do that. And then the culture is where it needs to be, and your customers are happy, they'll tell their friends, etc.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I think it's worthwhile to point out they can take it piece by piece, or they can take it all at once. But at the end of the day, what's noteworthy is that, whether you're putting this in to be able to help the turnover be better inside of the service department, and you're doing so by definitely making things more efficient, and also by improving, and ultimately you end up improving the user experience. What you're going to do is, because as Derek mentioned earlier, it's not very difficult to stand out from the competition. You do like a few
Totally.
things,
Yeah.
as small as like not saying no problem on the phone. It's like, my pleasure.
Yeah.
So things like that, like all of a sudden, you start adding these little things up, and it starts really adding. Regardless, when you put in the right strategy in place, whether that be CRM strategy for sales, for marketing, for service, which is what we're talking about today, or all of the above, you're going to start really dominating your area of the pie. I mean, it's undoubtedly, because you're going to stand out, you're going to stick out like a shiny mushroom in the crowd that you're doing business in. It's going to allow you to now take the system you've created and implemented, and be able to start replicating it. So if you want to just do it at a service department, or at a smaller level at the service department, you could go more with it, or you could just go establish it at the service department, go to sales, and then do your marketing with it, because you're going to be able to reinvest into it, and you're going to feel confident that you're going to be able to pour more money, so to speak, into your marketing to be able to really scale this. That's where the scalability comes in. Because when you think about being able to make more money and be able to multiply it, it's about the kinks in the road. This particular topic that we're talking about, very specific. It's not only about the user experience, but ultimately for your bottom line, it's removing a ton of obstacles that are going to help you make a lot more profitability. I mean, wouldn't you agree with that statement, Derek?
Yeah. And Joe, after having started a recruiting company back in 2017, last year was insane, with people making moves, switching because of furloughs, because of this, because of that. And since then, a lot of dealers have not been able to, even if they wanted to hire and replenish the ranks, they're operating with the highest volume of business we've ever seen. The most difficult, because it's not coming in the dealership, it's coming in via 5 or 6 different avenues online. And then also the phones are ringing more than they ever have before. So your sales guys are like, hey, they've never been trained their whole life to be the internet manager, the phone manager, the BDC manager. They've only been trained how to sell on the floor. So what I love about Dealerly Pro is that it helps those sales guys. It takes a huge load off of their back, as well as the service department. It does all that automation that makes their lives a lot easier and makes sure the job gets done. Because at the end of the day, that's the biggest problem. Like you alluded to earlier, it's like that we're just not getting the leads handled, and the OEMs are getting frustrated because the volume's there, but we're not doing a great job of timely responses. So I think, again, it goes back to this, all the automation and just having the plan in effect, knowing what the drip campaign is going to be, being able to say, this is our response as a dealership with our culture stamped on it, on our brand. This is how we're going to execute. And now we don't have to even think about it. It's not necessarily up to the sales guy to do all that verbiage and make sure he punches the dot and crosses the T, because we know he's not going to.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that, I'll do a quick anecdote, because I know we're really running thin on time. But, I have a friend who owns nursing, like an in-home nursing agency, and he staffs probably close to 300 nurses. So you could just imagine just what a nightmare scenario it is to kind of know, okay, I have patient in such and such zip code, and then I have, all these nurses. And we've been friends for years and we've worked together. He's kind of like a marketing geek, sort of like I am. And so we talk shop a lot. And, when we created Dealerly Pro, he started taking little by little interest, and he goes, can I just use this just to like communicate with like the nurses and the aides? And I was like, yeah, of course. And so I bring that to the table because that's one huge struggle that he has, right? With like nearly 300 people, like how to staff what, and he's actually doing it through a Powersports Marine and RV software. He's staffing his nurses because even just the internal communication. So even to look at this tool is like, what a huge, powerful tool it is, even simply for internal communication, for people within your own staff that you could text in one central place. It's huge, So this is available really at, I guess 3 different separate things or all together that you could, which is you could do something like this completely in-house by yourself. You can say, okay, Joe, can we go ahead and just try your software? Yeah, absolutely. And we can help you through the onboarding, and then you could just have somebody in-house manage it. There's also being able to have someone like Derek come in and coach you through how the use of DCRM actually marries, your daily operations, and being able to train people on that. Which is aside, right? Like what we do internally of being able to teach you the CRM. His goes way further than that. And then of course there's, just like totally, outsourcing it and having someone do all of it for you and then do your BDC. And that's really essentially, what we do, but it's just having a system, whether it is on your own or with help or completely done for you. It's having a system. It's something we can help out with. If you have any questions with regards to setting up a demo for Dealerly Pro, you could contact me. You can contact Derek. Derek, is that info still accurate?
Yes,
What's on the screen for you? Okay, awesome.
Yes, sir.
And then if you go to gobeyondcreative.com/schedule, my calendar will show up there real time, and my email's super easy, joe@gobeyondcreative. So I want to open it up for questions and answers. We don't really have a lot of time, but anything else that you want to say while we wait for some questions too, Derek?
No, I think we covered it as quickly and thoroughly as we can. I highly recommend, though, if you are interested, because I can tell you this is one of the least investment you can make as far as CRM is concerned. Most of them charge car prices, but this is very affordable. It's a low investment and it does wonders. So if you have any questions regarding like, would this fit in our dealership, I would highly recommend for us to do a one-on-one with you so you can ask better questions, get a more intimate view of from sales to service to marketing, how it all ties together.
Yeah, 100%. I think that we'd love to get some one-on-ones, and at the worst case scenario, I think you're probably like me. I don't want to put you in a bad situation, but I would say but the worst case scenario, you'll come out with some resources that you can implement from the conversation with us, probably a lot of good ideas, whether it is just to kind of pick our brain and not necessarily even to work with us. We're really here to help the industry succeed. So definitely hit us up if there's any questions. Yes. There you go. Awesome. So I guess we could wait, I could probably stick around for a minute or so more to see if there are any questions, and then if not, we'll part.
Sounds good. Thanks for inviting me on. Thank you guys for showing up. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully you've learned something, and we hope to see you out on the streets.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you so much, guys, for showing up.